Yo, what is up everyone, Z-Karma here, back with another Borderlands 3 video. Today we're just gonna go over the new weapon buffs introduced with today's hotfix. In this video, I'll be discussing the buffs and basically let you know if the changes are worth the farm. So if you enjoy this video or find it helpful in any way, a like rating is appreciated, and if you want to sub for more content like this, that'll be great as well. So starting off, I want to mention a few that I really didn't notice much of a difference. One of the weapons that was supposedly buffed was the DNA. I was using it and it didn't feel much different than what it was before. Not a bad weapon, of course, it's never been bad against normal enemies, but when I got to badass or anointed enemies, that's where it did what it always does. It just struggled with them. Granted, I wasn't using Ties That Bind on Amara, of course. You already know, single target Amara kinda sucks, but still, this SMG just doesn't feel like it was buffed enough for it to work. We also have the Webslinger, and since the previous buff, I haven't noticed a difference. Like, last buff it got, because it's gotten a series of buffs. Last time, it did really well, and I noticed a huge difference. But now, it doesn't feel like it performed better or worse. It feels like it's been in the exact same place that it was last time it got buffed. I would still put it as a mid-tier weapon, definitely not at the bottom of the barrel like it used to be. We also have the Serve Boss Execute. This weapon is supposed to apply a debuff to enemies when you throw an empty mag at them. And I noticed that the debuff is still the exact same after this patch. It works, but it's still the exact same amount of debuff. And it also didn't receive an increase to its weapon card damage. So it seems like this pistol did not receive a damage increase at all. Maybe there was a different change, and if there is, I have no idea what it is. Regardless, I don't really like this weapon. Didn't like the way it performed before and don't like the way it performs now, so in my opinion, my recommendation is that I would not recommend you farm for this. We also have the supposed buff to the Smog SMG, and again, I did not notice a difference. The amped damage shots still do 3.5 times the damage of normal shots, and the damage on the weapon card is still the same. I don't know what else to take a look at, but this SMG is still a beast, don't get me wrong. Easily a top 5 SMG. But a difference from before today, I don't see any. If y'all have any clue, please let me know. Next up, we have the Moonfire Pistol, which you can actually get from the Maliwan Takedown. This one's pretty good. I don't know if it actually needed a buff, but it is strong and reliable. I wouldn't classify it as a top 5 pistol though. But it can probably squeeze itself into the top 10 pistols list depending on the build you are using. It's a really fun weapon which is going to amp every third shot by 200% increased damage. In case you want to farm for it, it drops from Wotan the Invincible at the Maliwan Takedown. Moving on to the MP5. This one is a Mayhem 4 and above exclusive, which drops from Agonizer 9000. When you hold it out, you actually run faster, and it has an extremely high fire rate. You definitely want to keep an eye out for the ×2 variant. However, with this buff, I did not notice a difference. If you didn't like it before, you're probably not gonna like it now. So, if you didn't like it before, I would just steer away from this one. Moving on, we have the Tankman Shield. This one drops on Mayhem 4 and above from Captain Trant. Every kill you get will buff your weapon's next magazine. It has a lot of ammo in the clip, so it gives you something to work with to build up that buff. This hotfix gave this weapon a 55% increase to its damage, and honestly, it felt really good. I actually think it still needs a bit more of an increase, but for now, definitely better than it was, and I would definitely recommend you give it a try. Next up, we have the Multitap. This one drops on Mayhem 6 or above from Katagawa Ball. It received a 175% increase to its damage, and it is so strong now. This weapon is actually nuts. One of, if not the best Atlas pistol in the game. I highly recommend that you all give this one a try. And while you're at it, make sure to pair it with one of those new artifacts that matches the Atlas pistols. In my opinion, this is the best buff of the hotfix. Moving on, we have the Globetrotter. This one drops from Scourge at the Guardian Takedown. It received a 50% increase in damage, and honestly, this launcher is very decent. However, all those projectiles bouncing and rolling around can sometimes be a little annoying if they hit you. Additionally, even though it's really strong, you compare it to the best bossing launcher, the Backburner, or the best mobbing launcher, the Plaguebearer, you can't help but just leave it in the vault and use those too. Another buff that I wanted to talk about was the Kib's Worth. This weapon drops from Wotan the Invincible at the Maliwan Takedown. It has received a 150% increase in damage. In my opinion, this weapon has always performed really well, so this buff doesn't really change my opinion on it. Of course, it's still a really good SMG and so much better now. Definitely top tier. Moving on to another top tier SMG, we have the Redistributor. At one point, it was the best SMG in the entire game thanks to Zane's Barrier. It now drops from Wotan at the Maliwan Takedown, and it has received a 150% increase in damage. I highly recommend that y'all give it a try. This thing, once again, is a beast. I love using this weapon, and I'll definitely be farming for a couple of different elements because I only have one at the moment because I got rid of all of them when the weapon kind of started sucking. But now, make sure to go farm for it. And the last weapon buff we need to talk about is the Reflux. Super unnecessary buff in my opinion. This weapon was already arguably the best shotgun in the game. But, I mean, now it has received an increase to its damage. The Reflux is still doing its thing. So all you need to do in case you don't have it yet, go to the Voracious Canopy, make sure to farm Genevieve, and try to get a ×14 Reflux. Once you do that, go ahead and use your Anointment reroll and maybe try to get either a consecutive hit, a URAD, or the next to max anoint and go to work with it. And that's basically it. There was also a buff to a grenade, which I'll cover in a separate video if it's even worth it. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.